to you this afternoon and to walking this journey with you. Thank you so much, and welcome to all of you. So tomorrow, just to go back a little bit, my name is Happy Hingidi. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Proudly South African, and I'll be hosting the program this afternoon. So tomorrow is day number 100 of lockdown. Day 100, can you believe it? So in the 99 days, which is 99 days today, so much has happened. And we are all fighting with everything we have to keep afloat and to hang in there as we walk this unfamiliar territory and these trying times that we are going through. Which leads me to my next point that I would like to make, which is about the economy of the country as we know it today. So a 2% reduction in GDP figures was announced this week for the first quarter of 2020 before COVID-19. This followed 2019 figures where quarter 3 of 2019 showed 0.8% contraction, followed by 1.4% in quarter 4. Which clearly demonstrates where the economy of the country rather was going, through a difficult time long before COVID-19. So manufacturing, which is a massive sector for employment, contracted by 8.5% in quarter 1, and unemployment increased 1% percentage point to 30.1% in quarter 1. Therefore, ours is really a consumer-based economy, and the first quarter growth figure for household final consumption expenditure was 0.7%. The second largest contribution to this figure after food is alcoholic beverages and tobacco. Now, the ban on these products during level 4 and level 5 of lockdown and the continued ban on tobacco in level 3 will have a significant impact on the growth of our economy. The shortfall in the collection of the so-called sin tax is expected to reach 330 billion for 2020. But with that said, South Africa is not alone in all of this. The global economy had been expected to expand by 3.3% in 2020, but now we expect a global contraction of 5.2%. South Africa is in a very weak fiscal position. We have had repeated credit rating downgrades, and a number of large corporate companies are filing for business rescue. We face massive job losses in the thousands, the likes of Adcon with 22,000 staff members to retrench, Barloworld, the SABC, many companies that have come forth to say that they have to do what the business expects them to do. But the long and short of it is that it is a mess from an economy perspective. We are in a big mess. How do we untangle ourselves as an economy and as a people of South Africa outside of all of this? So where are we going? Where are we going? And how will the economic landscape look going forward? And the recession may become a full-blown depression, a very, very bleak future ahead of us. Now, the Buy Local campaign and the Proudly South African campaign, we are here today in response to all of this doom and gloom that I've just gone through a minute ago. But the one sector that we anticipate as a campaign will have a natural resurgence is the Buy Local campaign. What we're launching today is but just one element of a new phase in the life of the Proudly South African campaign, which is our new TV commercial, which really, like I say, is one element that we're going to use as a campaign to spread the narrative of what our new campaign is during this time in particular, and really going forward. Because as I alluded to the fact that earlier on when I started, that even before COVID-19, the economy of our country was already in trouble. In addition to that, the campaign that we're rolling out today will be on television tomorrow, but it'll be also be heard on radio, it'll be seen on billboards, it'll be on digital screens and digital platforms, it'll be online, it'll be on social media platforms, and it'll be everywhere you go, because because we've had to find many ways to ensure that it lives everywhere, that the message we are about to spread out with this special viewing and tomorrow, is that it gets to every South African in the country, irrespective of where they are. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto this platform our CEO, Eustace Mashimbe, who is going to be hosting the star of the show, so to speak, or the star of this message that we are putting out in the public domain. And in true South African style, especially in the townships, we say he's staring, right, Eustace? He's staring off the show. Bosso of the campaign, of our campaign, who is helping us to spread the message, who we are unveiling in a short while, and who will be seen on television screens, who will be heard on radio stations, helping us, walking the journey with us, telling our story to South Africans the best way he can, because he is such a true friend of the campaign and an ambassador. Welcome, Eustace.
No, thank you, Happy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are quite excited as Proudly South African to be launching our consumer education campaign as an economic response to this state that we find ourselves in, the economic state that we find ourselves in. Happy graciously gave us all the numbers, the unemployment numbers. Even before we were in a lockdown, we already saw 30.1% unemployment, like Happy said. The economy stopped growing. By the time we got to lockdown, we were already starting what was going to be the fourth quarter of negative growth. So we had to embark on a journey to try and galvanize South Africans to help us respond as best as we all could. I think one of the concepts that we played around with in our agency, or the production company rather, that we use, because we don't necessarily have an agency, we do everything in-house. But one of the concepts that was bandied about at some stage was that not all superheroes wear capes, and that we can all be superheroes in our own right. And that's why we feel that the time is now to get South Africans to help us grow the economy, to get South Africans to help us create much needed jobs. And we had to go and find a voice that was credible, a voice that could resonate with every single South African, one that crosses over, irrespective of age, gender, race, and who best to do it than our own star, Bosso Kimang, staring, like Happy said. And please allow me to welcome Dr. John Kani, who's going to have a conversation with me before we reveal the ad. We just want to understand why he was willing to again do this with us, because we previously had a campaign that we rolled out, and we called it the Buy Back South Africa campaign. We've used that campaign and carried that campaign for a few years. And for the first time in about 7 or 8 years, Proudly South African has now embarked on a journey to again have a campaign that is built on the back of a TV commercial. So this TV commercial is just one of the elements, but it's the main element that South Africans will interact with, whether on digital platforms, on TV platforms, and anywhere else where a TV commercial of this nature can be played. And so welcome, Dr. Kani. Thank you for joining us. And maybe before we even get into the conversation, just maybe greetings to those who have logged in and have joined the conversation this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. It is one of those things, you know, I'm a true South African. I'm a patriot. I believe in the most passionate way about our country and our people. So I always say, even I say this to the president, just call me. I'm standing by. Whenever you want a foot soldier to go into battle, to improve the lives and the quality of life and everything of South Africans, call me. So when proudly South Africa called me and said there's this new campaign that we need to launch and be able to mobilize South Africans to take responsibility in restarting, in re-engaging, in reinvigorating the economy of this country. What I like about this campaign is that it says you, meaning me, can do something. The small things that I can do are the actually big things that can get this campaign going. It's not asking much. It's just asking me to be a patriot. It's asking me to put South Africa first. It's asking me to be concerned about South African people, growth of the economy, me as an individual. So now I understand what I can do, not as a group, but just an individual. That if I walk into a store and say, I'm buying this product, I just one question, who made the product? If you say it's a South African that says, you have my money. That's all I need to do.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. I think where I was going to start is where you already went with, why did you heed our call again? A few years ago, we called on you and said, we are in need of your help. And again now, we came and said, we are not coming for a commercial discussion. We don't want to undervalue the brand that is Dr. John Kani, but we think your voice is the one that could, like I said earlier on, resonate with all South Africans, that is authoritative enough. What better voice than yours? I think even the president knows, and I'm glad you even touched on him. The president knows that he will listen when you speak. Like you told us a few weeks ago when we had this initial talk about this, that at some stage you do engage with him and you tell him that there are things that must be done. And we all have to rally behind that which is locally made.
Absolutely. It is our own struggle. It's our own battle. It is something that we can own. It's something that I can be proud of and say, I was part of that movement. When we talk about gender-based violence, I stand up and say no. When we talk about abuse of women and children, I stand up and say no. Now, this is one more time that I'm called upon to say, by South Africa. Anything I do that is required by this campaign, that only creates a job, it saves a job. It makes people proud of being South African.
And being someone who's well-traveled and who's been around, in all honesty, I think your age gives it away, your beard, the color of your hair gives it away. The work, the portfolio of work that you've done over the years is testament to the fact that you've been around. As someone who's well-traveled like you are, what are the patriotism levels that you've noticed around the world that you think can be borrowed by us South Africans, especially insofar as celebrating that which is our own and that which we make that will help us build this economy?
Well, you're going to have to use this one little example, America. The United States of America doesn't believe there's any other place outside America. With the new movement of America First, America is the greatest country in the world. America has the greatest technology and power and scientists and military structures in the world. Then this is what Africa needs. This is what we need. This is what we must say, South Africa first. Africa first. But to be really specific, South Africa first. It is my job, my duty to stand up and call upon all South Africans, young, age, born or passed on, to come with the ancestors to help us rebuild our country, to help us rebuild our nation. This is one moment that we need to be as passionate, being South African, and say, I am called upon to act. And that act is, I'm going to make sure whatever I do results in creating a job, saving a job, growing the economy, giving the people of South Africa back the dignity of the economy growing, unemployment coming down, especially the youth. The youth needs jobs. The youth needs opportunities. And if then all of us could just say, by buying a locally made product, local is lekker, my broer man. Let's always know that. We did it in music, we did it in the theater, we do it now in economy to grow it.
And what is your personal feeling and view, though, about the state of our economy and the state of or rather the level of unemployment in this country?
Look, we still have a very honest country. We are still a transparent country. We have a government that tells us the truth. Yes, in comparison and in the figures, if I just come back from England, the unemployment is seen on the streets. The people sleeping in the streets. I was in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. I was in Juba in Nigeria. I was in Accra in Ghana. We all face with this problem. Unemployment is exploding all over the world. Our economies are not growing as fast as the population is growing. The people that are crossing the Mediterranean trying to find new life in Europe and drowning in those boats off Libya and off Egypt are looking for work. Even in Europe, people are looking for work. So we're not alone in this phenomenon. It's not exclusively us, but we need to own it as South Africans. As I said to the president, you can say stay at home, social distancing, wash your hands. As long as it comes from you, I'm not sure we're going to do it. Let us say, I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to observe and comply. I'm going to keep social distancing. I'm going to wear a mask. I am going to do this. And this is what we're asking for now. I am going to be part of this new movement of Proudly South Africa. I am going to buy local. I am going to make sure by promoting the South African product, I'm creating opportunities for our people. It is my responsibility. So I want all of us to own it. It's not an instruction from the campaign. We're just being reminded that this is the duty we have.
No, thank you. So maybe the people have been in suspense because when they logged in, they knew that they were going to be exposed to this commercial, and we have our own president, our own star of the show, and I know that a few people have been saying, please share it with us. So I'm going to share the ad with everyone who has tuned in, just for them to get a sense of what we're talking about, and then we can continue the discussion afterwards.
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. By buying local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us, what we sometimes forget. But it's time for change. Let's all buy local. It's game time. Zanzi.
Local is lekker.
Everyday decisions shape our future.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you could see the ad. I like that you're clapping. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll play it again, but I just thought, based on the comments, there was a bit of suspense. I have two housemates, two 11-year-old housemates, and they kept saying, "Play the ad, play the ad. We want to hear the ad." so I'm glad we were able to expose the ad. I'm glad we were able to show the people what has been put out there for us to be able to get to rally the country to support that which is locally made. But I just want to get a sense, though, as how you felt shooting the ad. What was going through your mind as you were shooting the ad? It's not a Hollywood blockbuster that we were working on. But what did invoke some sense of patriotism? What kind of emotion did it invoke in you as you were shooting this ad?
Working with the wonderful people in doing this ad, the young people that have now grown into the industry and that have taken it over, the professionalism from the person who picks me up from the car, takes me to the studio, takes me from there to the set, to drivers on set, to the runners, to makeup, to hair, to costume, to making sure that I look presidential. There was an incredible seriousness and urgency and an importance of the project at hand. It wasn't just we're shooting an advert to sell a product. It was actually everybody had bought in this kind of journey. And the camera people, the technicians, the photographers, the sound were all like saying, right, we have you, Tata, we are so proud you are here, we're going to do this great job. And absolute professionalism. This is not Hollywood with 19 cameras and all that. This is Africa. This is who we are. We do best when we focus on our own humanity. We do best when we focus on our own story. There was that feeling on set that we're doing something that is us, for us, and by us.
That's good. No, thank you. You know, one of my favorite shots on that ad is the shot of you sitting in a chair and it has a tag that says the president. I wonder what the president's response is going to be to that one, where we replaced him, and as opposed to waiting for him to call the country to speak to us like he has been doing. South Africans will see this president talking to them every night on multiple channels, on SABC, on ETV, on MultiChoice. There will be another president that will have taken over temporarily from him to try and get South Africans to buy local. So we thank you for that. I'm keen to hear what his response is going to be when he finds out that you have replaced him temporarily as the president.
He is a wonderful and with a generous human spirit. He will understand that we are responding to his call. He said, Tumamina. Yes. We are saying, I'm saying Tumamna.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. And I see these days they're saying Kaoleza. So we must get South Africans to Kaoleza to the stores and to choose locally made products. One of the things that is worth mentioning, whilst I also ask for those who have joined in to post on the chat any questions you have. There's a Q&A. Post any questions that you have for Dr. Kani before we finish the conversations. We will take a few of your questions and get him to respond to them. But one of the things that we had in mind when we thought of coming back to ask that you work with us again was the fact that we needed to have a voice that would ring in everyone's head. So as you walk into your favorite retail shop, when you're walking down the aisles, you must hear that voice. And we hope we achieve that people will hear your voice. So you're going to ring, you're going to become an earworm in people's heads if we achieve what we wanted to achieve. People will hear your voice as they log on to their online stores. We have our own online store, RSA Made. It features a bit in that ad. When people log into RSA Made to buy, they must hear your voice. When people walk into their favorite retail stores, they must hear your voice. And that is what we try to achieve with this ad. And we hope that we can get as many people as possible converted and joining this buy local movement, because as you said earlier on, it's the only way that we can contribute personally as an individual to say, what is it that I can do for this economy of South Africa? And we are looking forward to seeing what the fruits of this advert what fruits will be born from this advert. So there's a question though from someone who wants to know. She says, please tell the story that you launched, please the story of when you launched the campaign in 2001, because next year it will be 20 years since then. So what do you recall from that time when Proudly South African was launched about 19 years ago? Because it was a new concept. And at some point, we realized that when people say they're proudly South African, they're talking about being proud of the fact that they were born here, or that they're South African by way of citizenship, that they don't litter, they support the Boke, they support Bafana Bafana, the Proteas, and we know that the idea behind Proudly South African was a commercial one. It was about buying. and about getting people to make purchasing decisions in favor of locally made products. What is your recollection of that time when the campaign was launched, especially considering the fact that you were then brought in to assist?
Well, I was sitting at home and I get this call from Tim Modise. He says, Zebra John, what are you doing? Where are you? And I'm saying, what's going on? He says, we are launching Proudly South Africa. And something has happened. Can you step in immediately and come and address us? Because you are regarded as our most important export product. I'm a product that's being exported. He says, yes, that's what the Minister of Tourism says. You are our best export product. I arrived in this beautiful space and I just told my story. Why I am successful abroad. Because I do not compete with the product abroad. I bring the South African, the African to the trade space abroad. You're looking for an African actor, you know who to look for. You're looking for an American or an African actor, go get Denzel Washington, go Morgan Freeman, Sidney Poitier. I can't compete with those when they are. But one thing they know, that when you talk about Africa, you talk about us. It is us who must be the voice and the face of Africa. And I remember that day when I spoke there about being a product that was made by my mom and dad, brought up by my community in New Brighton, developed by my Port Elizabeth, celebrated by Johannesburg and South Africa. It makes me a truly South African product and proud to be. And what we tried to achieve those days was this consciousness of being South African. With onslaught, of course, after 1994 of westernization and Africanization that flows into us. Kids were speaking an accent I don't understand. Life on video music was like it wasn't real. So we wanted to say, start by being who you are. Start by being South African. And that is why, for me, it is critical, even today, my brother, is that it's not just a hip thing, Proudly South African. No, there's action in the word. Proudly South Africa means act. What is that is required of me to be proudly South African is support South African economic growth, is to do my bit in creating jobs, in saving jobs, in creating unemployment and giving people the dignity of being self-sustainable on themselves. If we just could use every resource we have to focus on us. That when I buy an apple, I smile because the citrus firms in the Eastern Cape, in the Western Cape, they're working on the fields. When I buy maize, Millimil, I know that the farmers are smiling, the tractors are rolling. If I buy a t-shirt, I know the manufacturing ladies on those Singer sewing machines are going on. There's always a link, a consequence, a result of every time I act as a South African.
No, thank you for that. There are two lovely comments that I want to, or three, that I want to read out to you, because I think these are independent of people who work for Proudly South African, but these are friends of the campaign. The first one is from Rashmi. Rashmi is a good friend who's from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. And she says it's a really lovely advert that really inspires to be part of the movement of buy local, make local. And Kendi Totil is a friend of ours from Tsogosan, and Tsogosan is a member of Proudly South African. She says, well done, you stay happy and the Proudly SA team, a truly inspiring effort. Thank you, Dr. Kani, for extending your passionate spirit to this important initiative. Such good medicine, I like that part. And we are in need of good dosages right now. And another one that I want to read out, I think I've lost it. I think some of the messages go, but it was one of the very first messages that came up. I'll try to find it and I'll read it out to you. Yeah. But Patience Piri says, you are a true food soldier of South Africa. So there's nice messages that are coming through to you.
Thank you.
One of the biggest friends you have, and this is who we engaged with you together with, is Happy, who started the conversation. She's a chief marketing officer. I want to bring her back into the conversation. Because I know she's a big fan. The first time we engaged with you in our boardroom about 2 years ago, she said to me after the meeting, and to me and other colleagues, so I have witnesses to this. She said that day she did not hear much of what you said. If you had said to us, close Proudly South African, she would have said, yes, Dr. Kani. She was blown away, and she was in awe of the talent and the magnitude of what you've achieved. You bring with you such awe. So welcome back, Happy. I want to take the show back to you, but before you conclude the conversation, I thought I must bring you back, and I know you have a few things to say about the contribution that Dr. Kani has made to the campaign from when it started 19 years ago, when Tim Modise was appointed as the inaugural executive chairman of Proudly South African, and he brought this campaign to life. In fact, thinking about it, I think we should have invited Tim today to be part of the conversation to tell the story. But we have a plan, Dr. Kani, to celebrate 20 years of Proudly South African at the Biolocal Summit and Expo in March next year. God willing, we will have a physical event. It will not be a virtual event. We will celebrate 20 years. And the people who started the campaign, like yourselves and our team, will come and tell the story of what happened on that day when the campaign was launched. And you've walked the journey with us ever since. I mean, by the time we get to March next year, the ad that will be out there communicating this important message to South Africans will still have your voice, which was the case on the first day when they launched the campaign. It was your voice that led that conversation. So Happy, I know you have a few comments before I exit. And before
I'll be back I'll be back in March. Even if I'm in Hollywood, I'll ask for a break to be in that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eustace. And you're right. So, Dr. Kani, in a nutshell, you can run, but you can't hide. Even if you're in Hollywood, we will get you back.
I know you. You'll find me.
Thank you so much, Dr. And at this point, I'm tempted to say President Kani. You know, so what I want to share with the audience is that, you know, obviously in the week that we did the advert on location, it just coincidentally happened to be the night, your shots that we did with you was the night that the state president was addressing the nation. And I remember, I think he was on air at 8 o'clock, and that was your first take as we were rehearsing at 8 o'clock. And you got to say, fellow South Africans, before the state president. And it was such a special moment, you know, to see. And you do know, Dr. Kani, that, you know, you took over that whole production. You do know, right? Like the state president is supposed to do. There was such presence in that room when you took over.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we thank you so much, Dr. Kani. We thank you because we are ukhonile ukuthumeka. President says Tumamina, and you've demonstrated, Dr. Kani, over and over again, which before you even heeded his call, you already were doing it. You know, Tumeka, and that's why we find ourselves sitting with you here today. We don't undervalue who you are. I mean, you're the king of Wakanda, after all. and my colleagues and my boss will tell you that when we address our at different platforms, whether it's the private sector or the public sector or consumers, and when I take on the stage, we would ordinarily play the old ad that you did with us, and I always take the opportunity, because I'm such a fan of your work. And I'm such a fan of who you are and your hustle as a citizen. And, and I always take the opportunity to tell the story which is something you shared with. In fact, I listened to that comment on one of the interviews you did, I think with ETV, who's a partner to this today, where the presenter asked you, so Dr. Kani, you've just done, your latest project, and you were with the likes of Beyonce, the likes of those international stars, and you said to the presenter that when your grandchildren found out that you were hanging out in Hollywood with the likes of Beyonce, your grandchildren were devastated that you did not have a picture to show them, you know, a picture of you posing with Beyonce. And they said, Grandpa, how could you not get a picture with Beyonce? That's a star. How could you do that? And your response to your grandchildren was, well, Beyonce didn't ask me for a picture. You know?
That's such a lovely story.
It's a lovely story. You're so unapologetic about, you know, that local is like it. Beyonce must ask you for a picture. Nothing wrong with that.
Look, I'm an elder, Happy. I'm 70 years old, and I enjoy being an elder. And I know my responsibility being an elder is to pass on while I am alive all the legacy, the history, the information, the everything to the next generation. I am totally conscious of the lack of time as elders, that we need to communicate with our children and grandchildren and our peers. That's the responsibility we have in order we leave a South Africa that we are proud of. Somebody said, we do not own this world. We borrowed it from our grandchildren. They are waiting for us to hand it over as we found it all in a much better place. And that is why proudly South Africa simply says, make sure that your children and your grandchildren inherit a vibrant economy, a South Africa that is proud of creating work and feeding itself and giving opportunities to young people. They need to step in now and be proudly South Africa now, not after my funeral, which will never be anyway.
No. No.
There's a lovely message from Diana Potek, who says, lovely message, speaks to the heart. And another one that I thought is worth reading out too, it's Nyukonkuna also from Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, says, wow, beautiful advert, inspiring message and a great call for all South Africans to buy local. And the last one that I thought I must not leave out, there are many beautiful messages that are all talking about the ad, but it says, such truth and delivered with such authority, galvanizing the nation to do the right thing and to buy local. So I think it's mission accomplished just with those who have watched this. This was an exclusive session with just a few people invited, but if this is the reaction from them, I wonder what the reaction will be in all living rooms. Fortunately, we have social media this day, so we'll get instant feedback the minute it hits the screens tomorrow. And we will share the feedback with you. I'm really proud of what we have achieved with you, and I'm happy to hear that you took over the production. Maybe that's why the ad is so.
No. The young people were there. I mean, they were there. They just made sure that every look. Sometimes there is this thing about being local, being taken for granted because Esmos Brajon, he's South African. Yeah. If we had an international, we will treat it differently. I am fortunate in this fact that when they roll the red carpet in Hollywood, in England, in France, and all over the world, they do it exactly the same way when I step on a set in South Africa. That carpet is rolled for me in South Africa. At last, the prophet is famous at home. That's what makes me proud. Yeah, that's South African.
So before we conclude, okay, Happy?
I was just wanting to say that God willing, Dr. Gandhi, we're rolling that red carpet for you in 2020 when we celebrate 20 years of our existence.
Of course, yes, indeed.
And all of us have bosses. I have bosses too. And I'm happy to see that two of my bosses are online. So I want to read out what they've said. I think my performance appraisal is happening online today. It says, the one is from Simon Eppel, who's from SACTU, which is the union that is part of the COSATU Federation. It says, Dr. Khan, SACTU, which is the Clothing and Textile Workers Union, and the number of jobs that were lost in that industry. Efforts are being made to get jobs back in that industry. So an industry like that will really benefit from a campaign like this. And he says, Dr. Khan, SACTU and its members, thank you for your participation and leadership in this campaign. We need our giants to step forward and galvanize the spirit of deep activism and caring, which is the nature of our people, and help direct this nature towards the rebuilding of our economy. The other one is from Mr. Ashley Benjamin, who represents the footwear side. So we have both clothing and footwear today. We're not working barefoot. And Mr. Ashley Benjamin says, a powerful message, Dr. Kani and the team. Local is lekker. So It's got affirmation from my bosses, who both come from the labor federations, both COSATU and FETUSA. And we thank you for joining us today, board members, to witness this effort that has been undertaken by the team, but most importantly, it's production that has a steering, in the township.
Staring.
This boss
My CEO and my marketing giant, they're also staring with me. What a great movie.
So before we close, I want to play the ad one more time for those who might have joined late. I heard that the first time when I played it, my camera was on or something, so I'm going to try to do it better this time.
One line. I appeal to all our visitors from Africa who are within the borders of our beautiful country to put the South African product on their shelves first. In that way, they will also be contributing to the economic growth of South Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Gani.
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers, because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. Like local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us, what we sometimes forget. But it's time for change. Let's all buy local. It's game time. Zanzi.
Local is lekker.
Your everyday decisions shape our future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That message is very emotive, and that was our intention, CEO, so that the message hits a chord, and that and we're hoping that when South Africans get to see it tomorrow evening on their television screens, it'll really hit a special place. It's a message where, as proudly South African, we are very sensitive to what is going on around us, but we are asking South Africans and requesting for them to pause and to rethink their habits, to rethink their attitude, and to rethink our loyalty to local products. We've had to find a subtle way to say to South Africans during this hard time, during this pandemic, South African products and services carried us as a nation. And there's no reason why, all of that shouldn't carry us beyond the pandemic. And we're saying that when we choose to buy local products, we choose to sustain the jobs that we have, we choose to create more jobs. But if we choose not to buy South African products, we're essentially creating a job from wherever the product that we're buying is coming from. So it's a subtle reminder to South Africans to join hands in solidarity and do the right thing. But before we say goodbye, Dr. Gani, I just want, on behalf of the organization, to thank you for your time. We don't take it for granted. We thank you that you have a big appreciation of why we exist as Proudly South African. You have a big appreciation of our mandate. We thank you for that. We appreciate you. We love you. You remain our strength as our exported product, like Tim Mutisa said to you, is our exported product. You remain our strength. And we are hoping that, so this morning we asked a team, one of us came to your home to deliver a Proudly South African goodie bag. So enjoy all of those things in that bag. And when you look at the goodie bag, it's just a reminder of all the wonderful products that come out of our country that we are trying to galvanize the nation to buy and support. Thank you very much. And before we end off the session officially, thank you, CEO, for being a gracious host. Thank you so much. And I see you are, well branded. Thank you for for reading the brief and complying. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. K. Thank you to the media that joined us this afternoon. Thank you to all the TV channels and radio platforms that are helping us. Thank you to the SABC, who is a partner in this campaign today and going forward. Thank you to the colleagues from the SABC who are online today. Thank you. We can never even begin to do this ourselves without the voice and the support of the public broadcaster. Thank you so much. Thank you to ETV. ETV is also a partner in the in this campaign, and thank you to SACTU for being instrumental and helping us to to get them on board. Thank you to DSTV MultiChoice. MultiChoice is also a partner in this campaign. We thank you so much. We thank our board members who are our biggest champions and who believe in the work that the campaign does. Thank you to our chairperson for being an amazing leader who is smiling from ear to ear, if I can imagine, in his living room. Thank you so much to all the board members for their support at all times. Thank you to our social partners who are online with us today. Thank you to the friends of the campaign, our members such as Soho Sun, Smart Procurement, EdCon, the DTIC, colleagues from the DTIC who are here with us today. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and thank you to our members and our supporters. It's been a great discussion. We look forward to, in the advertising lingo, we say we drop the advert tomorrow. We drop it tomorrow on television platforms, on radio, but it is online this afternoon, and the media has got access to it. Dr. Gani, we thank you so much. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Bless you. Mr. President.
And I think it's
thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. As I say, I do not do things I don't believe in. That's why you won't find me in everything. I only do things that I believe in. And this campaign, since 2001, has been in the center of my heart, because I know we can do better. We can save the economy. We can be the proudest country, long as we just focus on we are needed to make a contribution. We are part of this movement. It is us that are saying, I am going to buy South African.
Thank you.
You see what I mean? When is Dr. Gani's inauguration? We must organize that. We must call on people we know to help us make it a reality.
No, I'm in the art and culture. I don't want to sit in that president's office. I know it's too big. I saw Mr. President's office, it's too big.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, thank you to Team Proudly South African for all your contribution, and thank you to the executive team at Proudly South African. It took a collective effort, and we are here today. We are proud to launch this campaign in the public domain. Thank you, everybody. Your last words, CEO?
So my last word is a big thanks to Dr. Kani. I know you've already said your thank yous to Dr. Kani, but we truly appreciate it. And most importantly, the fact that you are willing to avail yourself for that big bash. We hope it will be a bash, that we won't have to practice social distancing at the time, that come March 2021, we will have one big party to celebrate the journey that you've walked with this campaign, but also when the campaign was introduced, it was a completely new concept to this country, and it needed credible voices to back it up. And you've been that voice, you continue to be that voice, and we thank you for lending your voice yet again to this great movement. And we hope that as in the same way that I still hear your voice from the previous ad because I've heard it so many times. I recited it to my kids today. They didn't know that there was an ad like that I could recite. They thought I took time to recite it, to cram it into my head, and that's why I could recite it. And every time I think of that ad, I hear your voice saying it started with so much hope. You know, that voice is there in my head all the time, and I hope that it will be the same with all South Africans with this ad, especially at the end where we say it's game time, Mzansi, that all of us will remember that it's game time and we have to act accordingly. So a big thank you to you. Be well, stay safe, continue to make us all proud, to represent us the way you have, to fly the flag, and most importantly, to help us rebuild this economy, because this is a build on the back that the country needs an economic response, and this is the economic response that we think this country needs. And to PG Bison, who is our friend and helps us all the time, whenever we host forums, sector-specific forums and furniture-related forums, you are there. Today it's a generic campaign that we're rolling out, but PG Bison is there again, so a big thank you to them as well. And to you, Happy, and your team for putting this thing together. There was a lot of hard work. Some people don't know there were tears. There were lots of tears. There were lots of tears. I've played psychologist many times in the past. And all I need now is a couch, is an office and a couch after I leave this job. I know what my calling is after this. Thank you very much. To everyone who joined us today, thank you. I appreciate that you took time out of your schedule to join us. Enjoy the ad and buy local.
Thank you.
Thank you.